Listen to An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge by Ambrose Bierce. Level A2. Oxford Reading University.
A man stood on a railroad bridge in northern Alabama. He looked down into the deep water of the river. His hands were behind his back, and there was a thick rope around his neck. On either side of him stood a soldier of the Federal Army, and behind him was the captain. Many watched him from the bank. The man who was about to be hanged was about 35 years old. He was a handsome man with fine features and large dark eyes. His face seemed very kind, and it was impossible to take him for a criminal. He looked more like a gentleman, but wartime takes the lives of many people, and not all of them are criminals. The man closed his eyes to think one last time about his family, but he couldn't focus. He heard the water run fast and the soldiers behind him move. Then he heard another strange sound. It repeated many times. The man listened to it closely, trying to understand where the sound came from. Then he realized it was the ticking of his watch. It was counting down the final seconds of his life. He opened his eyes again and looked at the river. "I wish my hands were free," he thought. "With free hands, I could take the rope off my neck and jump into the river. I could reach the bank and run deep into the forest. I could go back home. Fortunately, the front line is still very far away. At least my wife and children are safe." The captain made a signal, and the soldier pulled a plank from under the man's feet. 2. Peyton Farquhar was a rich planter of an old and highly respected Alabama family. When the Civil War started, he took the Southerners' side. He was a Southerner himself. For some reason, he was unable to serve in the army. However, he dreamed of taking part in the fight. He wanted to do great things and become a hero. Peyton was a kind and honest man. He wasn't afraid of danger or death and did everything he could to help the Southern Army. One evening, a soldier rode up to the gate of his house. Peyton asked him about the news from the front line. "The Yanks are getting ready for another attack," the soldier said. "They have reached the Owl Creek Bridge and set up camp on the north bank. I saw their captain's new order. If anyone tries to do anything to the railroad, the bridges, or the trains, he will be killed." "If I get to the north bank, what can I do there?" Farquhar asked, smiling. The soldier thought for a moment. "Well, there are a lot of dry wood planks on the bank. If you set them on fire, they will burn very well." Peyton's wife gave the soldier a glass of water. He thanked her dearly and rode away. An hour later, when it was dark, he appeared again, riding in the opposite direction. He rode to the north. In reality, it was Peyton's enemy, a soldier of the Federal Army. 3. The plank moved, and Peyton Farquhar fell. A moment later, he found himself in the cold water of the river. The rope broke, he understood. He felt a burning pain in his neck that shot through every inch of his body. For some time, he was losing his senses and coming back to life again and again. Still, he made every effort to remove the rope from his hands and neck. His mind was on fire and his heart raced. He hit the water with his hands, making his way to the surface. His senses were sharper than ever. He could see fish of many colors around him. He heard insects flying over the water. He appeared on the surface of the water. Suddenly, he heard a gunshot. Something hit the water a few inches away from his head. "No, I don't wish to be shot. That is not fair," he thought to himself. Then he heard the order. "Attention! Ready! Fire!" Peyton went underwater, but still he could hear gunshots. When he rose to the surface again, he saw that he was far away from the bank. The soldiers prepared to shoot again. Farquhar's mind was as quick as his arms and legs. "Now they will all shoot at once," he understood. "I must be very careful. God help me." But instead of many gunshots, he heard a loud rushing sound. Something heavy flew toward him and landed in the forest. "A cannon!" he thought with fear. An enormous wave raised over his head and covered him. As he came back to the surface, he heard another cannon shot. Suddenly, he felt that the water was taking him aside. It whirled him round and round. He saw the cannon, the soldiers, and the forest go round at great speed. The water carried him to the south bank. A few minutes later, his hands touched the sandy ground. "I am alive!" he thought. He threw the sand over his head and cried with happiness. Then he heard gunshots again. He was still in danger. He jumped to his feet and ran into the dark forest. Peyton walked all day toward the sun. By night, he had almost no energy left. He was tired, hungry, and thirsty, but he thought of his family, and it pushed him forward. He walked up to a road that led to his home. It was wide as a city road, but it appeared empty and quiet. Tall, dark trees stood on either side of it. He looked up to the sky and saw the stars. They seemed too big and had strange shapes. Peyton heard quiet voices from behind the trees, but he couldn't catch a word of what they were saying. His neck was in pain. He knew he had a black circle on his skin that was left from the thick rope. Maybe he fell asleep on the way, or perhaps he woke up from a long, terrible dream. Another image appeared in front of him. He stood at the gate of his own home. He pushed it open and walked in. His beautiful wife went out of the house to meet him. Peyton ran toward her. She smiled at him softly and held out her arms. How lovely she was! As he was about to reach her, he felt a strong pain in the neck. A bright light fell on him with the sound of a cannon shot, and everything went dark and quiet. Peyton Farquhar was dead. His body, with a broken neck, hung above Owl Creek, moving slowly from side to side.
Do you love audiobooks? The Iwa app has an entire library just for you. Explore a wide range of genres and levels, and learn new words while you listen or read. Simply click on any unknown word to see its translation instantly. Start your journey at appiwa.com. Looks like you forgot to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more English stories like this. And now, listen to another free audiobook.